Well, first of all, we do have some apologies from Richard Ekobena at the City of St. Paul. He would have loved to have come to Australia to do this presentation, but with all the things that he has going on these days, he couldn't make it to Australia at this time. We've had a history of about a year with the City of St. Paul, and I think we've talked about every possible data connection that that anyone can come up with. Originally, they talked about data being stored in AutoCAD drawings. Yes, we looked at that and we read all in attributed blocks and everything, and 12D handled it quite well. And I said, well, that's great, but how about if we decided to change our minds and tried map files? He said, oh yeah, we can read attributes out of map files. So we went down that and said, oh, you did that very well. But we're not going to do that either. And we went through about 5 different ways, and the final one is they said, well, how about this new FDO server? And I thought, I never heard of an FDO server. And that's where I looked over to Richard, and he says, we can do that. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So listen, what the City of St. Paul wanted to do is, once again, they had a database with all of their sewer pipes and manholes, all their stormwater pipes and manholes, and they wanted a way to be able to bring that into one central area, be able to quickly review the data, and if they wanted to, reproduce a drawing in a customized format. And of course, 12D has very good plot parameter files for generating long sections of drainage and sewer lines. So that's what their object was to be able to bring this data into one place, view it, change it, and then of course produce some drawings if they wanted at the end. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up to their FDO server. So I'll go to File I/O, down to our FDO and our FDO servers. And we've got our St. Paul one down here. And I won't need the password, oh, it's over there. Perfect. We'll connect to that one. Now, once you connect to an FDO server, by the way, you'll notice I use far less techno speak. What it does is it loads down all the different possibilities of data that you can retrieve. And we connected there? Okay. Great, so we can finish that. And so if we go up to our File I/O, FDO download. Okay. We'll create a new function for retrieving the data. And that was one of the things that they absolutely loved, the fact that you could update with functions. And we're very lucky to have a user at the city who was incredibly quick. And everything that we introduced into 12D picked it up quickly and made it run to its full capacity. So wonderful things they could do. So we'll grab in some sewer here. Our server that we're going to select is going to be our St. Paul WFS, and then go to our Connect button. Connect here, please. Okay. So what it's doing now is requesting the schemas, which is all the information stores they have. And what you'll notice is this is all the different, we call them layers or models inside 12D, that they have available to us. Now I'm just considering at this moment just the sanitary manholes that they have, their active ones. I'm also interested in their pipe system, so I'm sanitary pipe active. Okay. Now, because the way we're going to be working with the manholes, I don't particularly want them head to tail. Okay, they'll come. I want individual strings. Okay, so we're ready to go download that data. Over here on the right, of course, you can see all of the data that they have stored inside their system as attributes. So we'll go and grab that data. It's happening. Background tasks. Now, once again, this is a live connection, and it's connecting with the City of St. Paul. For any of those who don't know where St. Paul is, it's the northern part of the United States, where it's pretty well frozen right now. So it looks like it's still thawed enough to get our data. So let's come back and add on what we brought in right now. I'm expecting 2 models, the manholes and the pipe data. Now, I didn't bring down the entire City of St. Paul, okay? Although that's what they regularly do. What you'll notice there is you've got the plus signs for all the manholes and then all the pipes. Look at the attributes, strings, properties, attributes, okay? And go pick up one of their strings. You'll notice that you have all the different attributes that the city has. And one of the things that they do as well now is after they created their system, things like the status in service and being used was a little bit long to be reported anywhere. So they've also incorporated chains into their system where they read their data in, modify the attribute names so they're more meaningful to the users. So they're using that to modify their data on the fly as it comes in via chain. And once they have this data inside 12D, the next thing they want to do is to use it as a drainage system. So what we'll do next is we'll go up to Design, come down to our drainage sewer, and we've got the option where we can create the drainage lines from points and lines. So the points, once again, are the manholes, the lines are the pipes themselves. Now, one of the things about having the entire city is they also needed to manage the data. And their choice of method was essentially by trunk systems. So they found the trunk line, all the upstream areas, they decided they wanted that in one model. So now they're up to about 25 different models representing the different areas of the city. And they wanted a way to manage that data and to be able to update it. So what we decided to do for them was to work with views of models for just about all their data. So to begin with, the database models, that's the ones that we have here, they're all sitting on view number 1. And if we had some existing ones already created, we put them onto this view. So let's go create a new one for that, because we'll probably want it shortly. You create a plan view. We'll call that one existing. So that's there for later if we need it. Okay. The actual drainage model itself. Now, whenever they bring data in from the database, if there are new streams that have been added, new pipe systems, they wanted those separately, so they'd know that was the new part. Okay? So I'm just going to call that new sewer. Okay? And of course, everyone has their favorite colors for everything. So we have the sewer cyan in this case. Now, moving across to the manhole data. What happens is all of the data attributes inside their database system has to be mapped over to what a 12D needs. So their name are called their FIDs, okay? And the idea there is that will become the manhole name inside 12D, okay? You can map the types across, okay? So we could have that be our manhole types, okay? The manhole diameters is something that they didn't have inside their system just yet, okay? But we understand it's on its way. Their cover levels, which is the top of the pit in our case, will become our rim elevations, and we'll have a sump level for that as well. Okay? So that's the sort of data that you expect from manholes. When it comes across to the pipes, same sort of thing. They have an FID. We'll come down. If you're looking for the types, okay, we'll use the material for that. Now, a diameter they do have, okay, but their diameter comes in inches. So that needs to be converted to feet, so we'll need a conversion factor for that. The width would be if they had a box culvert. The top width would be if they were using a trapezoidal shape. We want our invert levels to come across, which is their starting Z value, or more correctly would be their starting Z value. I've learned to speak American. You probably noticed that my accent sounds a little bit like American. It's a little farther north, but Canadians are good at talking to Americans. So once you've got all this data in, we're ready to go run that. And what that's done is it's gone and created drainage streams for us. So if I was to bring this view down to the bottom, and zoom out just a tad, and I was to go back and add on that model called new sewer, you'd see that we had that data system created right on top of their existing. Now we'll take a look at that in section view. So I'll go create myself a section view for that. New section. And of course we want to go profile. One of those lines says sewer. Let's go grab new sewer. That's what I'm looking for. Oh yes, enter key. All right. And there's our data that's come in. And it's, you notice also it's been strung together, which was another thing we had to talk about, because in the GIS system, of course, they're all individual pipes. And so we selected an attribute that would, in their case, it was called strip maps. So each one of the drainage strings was strung together so that it would be something meaningful for them. Okay? Now that's essentially what they wanted. And very, very happy group of people right now seeing that we're able to do that for them. The next thing that they did with that, which I don't need to go into here, is of course they use that for the long section plots, and they combine the sections with the plan views. And so it gives their designers a method to essentially produce drawings for people to take out in the field. And yes, I'm afraid leaders still taking the drawings out in the field. So we have to work on them for that.
We'll show them 12D field very shortly.
We'll get on to that. So the last bit that I want to show you then is just if I go up to strings properties now and go to the same attributes, you would find now, if I was to select one of our pipe strings, okay, if I moved over to the pit, what we do is we make sure that all of their original data gets copied in as an attribute. Okay, so all of it is still there, they don't lose anything. And also if they come across to the pipe attributes, we did the same thing for that. Okay. Now that was sort of part one, that's the one to come in. The next step, of course, is that they are constantly updating their database. So the next time that they change their database, they don't have to go redo the entire process. What happens is they come back here, and if I look at this basic tab, okay, what happens now is that we would take that sewer model, put it in with the existing sewers, and so if any new ones came in, they would go into the new model. It uses that FID parameter to identify the names inside their database to the 12D pipe names, and so the system is updated. And currently it is a one-way street. It comes from the database to 12D, but they definitely, now they see that they can change and edit and check the connectivity of the system inside 12D. They want to go the other way as well and take the data from 12D back into the database, which is the next place.